public speakers?
Yeah.
Members of the public, would you like to speak?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, Carol.
Hello, everybody. My name's Sam Hayward. I'm a local resident. I live in Wilton, in Taunton. I'm here to talk about proposals to improve traffic calming and create a new road crossing on the Trawl Road, the junction of Manor Drive. Shall I carry on?
Yeah, Carol. Yeah.
So a little bit about myself, I think would probably be helpful. So in my day job, I'm a consultant in public health. That means that I'm passionately working around preventing poor health and well-being for populations and trying to improve the situation for people to essentially mean that they can have a better quality of life. And part of that role includes influencing how the built environment is experienced by people, how we interact with it. And I know the evidence base says that the #1 cause of injuries on the road are due to traffic speed, and about the infrastructure as well. That means that traffic speed is too fast. On a daily basis, I cross that road at Trawl Road myself, and I've counted 50 families altogether. There's about 100 people in the morning trying to cross the road at the bottom of the hill. And one of them is my daughter Nell, who's here to accompany me. She's currently playing on Mario Kart to practice her speed skills, but hopefully won't be able to do that when she does come to drive. And I suppose I've got to start off with a bit of cheek as well, is that actually the council have also already unanimously voted in favour of traffic calming on the Trawl Road and establishing a road crossing as well. Only that's the Parkfield School Council, which is the representative body of over 400 children and their families for Parkfield School, supported by the school community in terms of making that a safer environment for children. And I know it is a national priority around safe travel to schools, and hopefully it's a local priority both at county level and at town council level as well. And I suppose what I'm here to do is really advocate for the council to see that as a priority, so that we can start putting it through the transport planning process as for some infrastructure investment. Now, I work in local government myself. I recognise that this isn't going to happen quickly because of the funding situation of all local authorities at the moment. But actually, I think if we can show that there is clear support from the council, its members, as well as the local community, and it's potentially something that can actually happen. And even if it happens by the time my daughter or my son get into year 6, it will still benefit them when they cross the road to go to Castle School. It will still benefit all those families that cross that road on a daily basis. I met with some of the councillors there on Friday of last week, and they saw firsthand how difficult it is to cross the road, even with the small little island crossing that we do have. And they very much supported proposals to, well, reduce the speed of the traffic coming down the hill, but also look at the infrastructure to make it up to date with current guidance. And so, yeah, I suppose that's my piece, is whether it's something that the council would support in us trying to take that forward.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Have we got any questions in the room? Councillor Ellis?
It's not really a question. I mean, just a point of information. Apparently, this has been an issue for a long time. I was talking to, I'm the divisional, well, one side of the road is my division, the other side of the road is another division. But this has been an issue for a long while. I was speaking to my other divisional councillor, John Hunt, earlier, and he was involved. And the first foray into politics was with our dear friend Alan Weddicott, Wilford and Sherford Community Association, where they were campaigning then, this is back in the 90s, I think, for speed reductions all along Trawl Road. It's only Queens has got the 20 mile an hour just either side of the school, and that road is, you know, so this is a long-standing issue, and it's great that you brought it to the fore again, Sam, so thank you for that. So this is a long-standing issue about speed and the need for a crossing, and there seems to be pretty much a consensus forming around that. It's wonderful that Parkfield, our youngest residents, have got involved in that and expressed their views. Is it appropriate for me to say I really strongly support this?
So actually, currently on the agenda this evening, number 7 is traffic management requests, which actually dates back to member of the public. So what we're going to do this evening, because you're here, we're going to bring number 7 forward. So then you don't have to be waiting around for another 3 parts of the agenda, if you don't mind. And then we'll go for any more further questions, and then we'll put, we'll put something together. Okay. Much. Yeah, we'll start the meeting now. So have we received any apologies for today?
I received apologies for Councillor Furman and Councillor Stinthorpe.
Okay. So,
Let's substituting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Have we got any declarations of interest? Yeah. And on the minutes, to approve and sign as correct record of minutes of the previous planning committee meeting held on 20th of February 2025. Have I got any comments? Do I get any proposal? Tony, could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Twos, could we go to the vote, please? Yep, that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. The next item is forward plan. Members to note the planning, development and licensing forward plan. Has everybody had a look? Is there any questions, issues with the forward plan? We will support them. Could I get a proposer? Lester, could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Isaac, could we go to the vote, please? Yeah, that's carried. Thank you. Now, what we're going to do, so the item that's number 7, we're now going to bring to number 5. So this is members to consider the town council support for the request from the member of the public, Sam Hayward, for a zebra crossing on the Troll Road. So just going back to this again, go back to Councillor Ellis, so you can just brief again.
Yeah.
And then Marcus.
As well, got some.
Yeah, we can get Marcus in after Councillor Ellison. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, so this has, as I discovered, been an issue for a quite a long time, and fellow councillors have been and met some people up there and witnessed themselves the hazardousness of those children crossing the road safely. And there probably is, I don't know what the sort of collision or crash or whatever data tells us, but I think there's an issue as well about the fear of actually something, some mishap befalling you, and the need for sort of to be extra vigilant. And it's just really, really quite wrong. And I don't want to have to see bodies on, dead bodies on the middle of a road before anything is done. I think, it's an obvious issue. You've got a large number of families who use that who needs to cross Troll roads somewhere around Manor Drive. It's the quickest route from there to get to the school, to Parkfield School, because it's literally you go down Manor Drive, there's the school. And I think they've got a flashing 20, which last time I heard, I was trying to get it fixed because it wasn't at the bottom of Manor Drive and they run up to the school, but that's not much help if you're trying to get there without loss of life and limb. And we obviously want to encourage people to walk, don't we, and to use active travel. So there seems to be a consensus that there needs to be a crossing, some kind of zebra around about there. Is that right? Somewhere around about there.
Just in the image on the screen.
Oh, you've got it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There, safely. The other side. That bit. Yeah, and I think we should also throw into the mix the whole issue about speed reduction, because it's ridiculous that unless private school pupils, they get the benefit of a speed reduction, and yet on this stretch of road where we've got kids travelling to a state primary, they don't, or state secondary actually as well, because to Castle. So to me, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Now, there was an issue, I think maybe Sam, you raised it, or somebody raised it. Bev certainly was asking about Somerset Council having a lot of active travel money coming its way. So at the moment, they've got, they're getting something like 2.7 million. They haven't got it yet, and they've got to submit plans for how they want to spend it by September. There's nothing set in stone yet. I doubt whether something like this will be on their radar, but it's not to say it should be on their radar. And I think I agree with Sam that we need to sort of definitely say we want, we support this, we want it to happen. And if it can be part of some sort of active travel scheme in the near future, great. If not, then we have to consider, I think, other mechanisms, because I'd rather fear that what the priorities are at County Hall do not entirely match up, if I may put it politely, with the priorities here in Daunton on the ground. So we may have to be prepared to sort of look at a range of ways of tackling the issue, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Marcus?
Yeah, thank you, Jan. Thank you, Sam, for coming along tonight. I guess I think Sam pointed out to Somerset Council's traffic management team about the news article about the funding for prioritising walking routes to school, and in their reply, I don't think they actually responded on that specific point as to where that funding is and where it's being prioritised. That's something I think if we as councillors decide to support this request tonight, then that's something we can definitely press for in our response to Somerset Council. Just as a sort of broader understanding of why you as councillors keep getting these requests on your committee. Somerset Council sort of first response to these kind of traffic management requests. So obviously they look after, as they've said in their email, 6,600 kilometres of roads in Somerset. They've said that they don't respond to individual requests by one person because they like to see that views are funneled through as views of the whole community, and so they always seek direction from the local parish, town and council and elected representatives before taking schemes forward. So obviously if this is something that you would wish to lend your weight as a committee behind tonight, then we can write to Somerset Council officially do that. I probably would expect that they will come back and say an issue around the funding and this being not high on their list of priorities, and there may be a need for the town council to be seeking to seek funding from the town council, as there have been with the similar requests that you recently approved for SIL funding at the road out towards Wellington and the partnership there with Bishop's Hull Parish Council. So just to bear that in mind, I know there was some discussion at the Basketball Council about a strategic view of these particular routes and hotspots in the town, in the 20 miles an hour aspect. So yeah, that's just my thoughts. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much. Councillor Tully?
Thank you, Chair. There's a couple of things that's concerning about this. One, has the SID been put up that way at all? Because that is the answer. That gives us all the information we can take to county. If we have a SID put along there, it is a fast road, unfortunately. And the other thing is, you say about a zebra crossing. I think it's the wrong crossing. If you've got young children crossing the road, you need a pelican or one of those type crossings. Because otherwise, unless you're going to get a warden or someone to actually see people across the road. And it happened at West Monkton, they couldn't do it because the cost of doing it, that's why they put a pelican up there. I think it shouldn't be a zebra crossing. The zebra crossing, people seem to annoy it. You know, they tend not to cut their speed down. They think they have the right way of crossing. Whereas the crossing which actually goes to red is basically stop, common sense. But,
yeah.
Okay.
So definitely, from my point of view, from hearing from Mr. Hayward, I totally agree that the need of this improvement on this road is definitely needed, because obviously there is a safety hazard here, and obviously last thing we want, like Councillor Ellis said, is somebody hurt on the road, especially in Taunton, and anywhere really. So I definitely believe there's definitely an improvement needed. I'm not entirely sure what the list is for the SIDS, because I think that'll definitely be something to acknowledge, because if we've got strong data, that will give let's say a bigger foundation for a bigger impact on this this request. But I definitely think there's definitely need for an improvement on a crossing there, and like Mr. Tully, Councillor Tully said, whether that's a zebra crossing or pelican crossing, that comes down to the detail, I guess, of highways, depending on what's right. But yeah, I definitely think there is a need for improvement on this road for sure. Councillor Twos and then Councillor Isaac.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't agree with the points made. I don't really have anything new to say except to thank Sam for coming in and giving up his time. I mean, I presume Somerset quote about how many roads they're looking after in the county, etc., but are they actually in fact putting in road management anywhere? Because, you know, if there is a list somewhere where, you know, where the plan of works, etc., then we surely can get on that list at some point. And I fully support writing to the council, and it comes back, I think, to the purpose of us as councillors. If Sam has been in touch with Somerset, you know, there's not thousands of people out there like trying to get a zebra crossing or crossing management. I know there's a lot, but there can't be that many. So I think we need to respond, and I'm fully supportive of looking at how the town council can support this particular thing. But I agree with Caroline, we should look at it as a whole range of traffic sort of management down through there, that road. And she makes a good point about how when you get near Queens, you have to slow down. So yeah, definitely. Councillor Isaac.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm a great believer and would wholeheartedly support this to go through. But it's very nice to see a young member of our residents or attending, which is great. I would like to add that Sid is not a little man that's going to go out and start in cars. Sid is a speed indicator device. If you're driving down the road, you see it flashing red and green. Thank you very much. So we've got several of those, and I think that would be a great idea to get more evidence. We have to go to county higher authorities so that we can say, you know, this is dangerous, and not looking on the map there. It's the red town for me, but I would wholeheartedly agree. And thank you again for coming.
Councillor Lester.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. I mean, I can almost see my house from this image, so I'm very supportive. I live on Manor Drive, and I know that the footpath further up the hill is an old-fashioned narrow footpath, so even walking up that road is bad enough without being able to cross it. But I would like to add, I don't know how this works with our economies of scale, but we did have another resident on the island of I've forgotten the name.
Park Street.
Yes, that's right. And they were asking for a similar thing on the road at the bottom of Park Street by the church. Maybe 300 yards apart. I wonder if there's an opportunity to put in a single request to try and do these things in as economical a way as possible, and also it might help speed them both up. I don't know. Thanks.
Marcus.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was just going to come back on the point about these. Brian found the list, and there are 2 spots on Troll Road that are going to be utilised. Outside number 66, which is further down, and then the nearest bit to this one is a section near Belmont Drive. So not quite at the exact spot, but at least two places where speed will be monitored on that Troll Road. And I believe they were being installed this week in the new locations, because it's taken a while for to get confirmation from Somerset Council for the new spots. But I believe they're being rolled out to new locations this week. Thank you.
Getting a feel from the room, I definitely feel like the town council wants to show support for this request, to show that there's a need for a change in the safety of people using this road to go to school or even using the path. So I definitely feel from the sound of all the councillors that we'd like to show support for the request. I think kind of the SID and the list of places which the SID place is going to be, I kind of feel like that's answered to give us some information on that road. So that's great. We're ahead of the game on that, which you know, our position is, you know, 90% correct, which is good. So yeah, I kind of getting a feel to actually support this. Councillor Twos, yeah.
Sorry, just one question, Marcus. Have we written to the officers here? Have we actually written to, is it Councillor Rigby's portfolio?
not
Next,
transport.
Richard
Yeah.
Forrest.
I just wondered if we've written to the officers, we could also maybe write to the relevant member. So at least the member, I'm sure the member knows, but you never know. So let's try and get it across their desk as well, maybe.
That's not a problem. Councillor Ellis?
Just in terms of people, I don't know who you'd be writing to, I guess it'd be Marcus drafting it, wouldn't it? But there's a guy called Alan Muir, who is the active travel technical lead. And he seems to know and be very highly involved in the deciding what money gets spent on. And I was sort of, I made my point again about all the stuff that you guys want to do in Taunton is not what we would prioritise. You know, we could tell you what we want the money spent on. And he was like, oh, yes. There's only one of him, bless him, but he said it's always worth getting stuff on in his inbox, even he said even if he doesn't reply, bearing in mind there is all that money eventually coming Somerset's way, even though it's got to stretch across the whole of Somerset. He's not a bad person to copy in, so it'd be alan.muir, muir at somerset.gov.uk, in amongst all the other people that you're copying in with our request.
Did you want to say anything else?
Thank you very much for discussing the issue of Trawl Road, and thank you for your support. It's great to hear that it's well, I'm sorry to hear that it's been a long-standing issue, but I'm really glad to hear that you support actually doing something about it. And I take your point around the difference between the Queen's School and Parkfield School. I think there is a bit of a disparity there that needs to be addressed. Because they do have a crossing in that 20 mile per hour, whereas Parkfield don't, and I think it would really benefit the community. So thank you very much.
So, as a council, getting Phil from room to support this request, could I get a proposal for this? Councillor Lester, could I get a seconder? Councillor Ellis, could we go to the vote, please? Supported. Thank you very much. Thank you. Carry. Thank you. Right. So going back to plan now, it will be now item 6, which is Pulse Smart Hubs update. Then to consider the update on Pulse Smart Hubs. I will carry over to Marcus. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So those of you who were on the committee last April may recall that you resolved to support in principle the Pulse Smart Hubs proposal for Taunton. These were these freestanding units in the High Street, and the firm in Belfast, they came along and presented, and I believe following that meeting they submitted a pre-application application to Somerset Council's planning department in the joint names of themselves and ourselves, given the support, the strong support that the councillors felt at the time. I had a Teams call a few weeks back with Ollie Smith, the managing director of Pulse Smart Hubs, just as an update on the progress of bringing these things to Taunton. He had copied me in various correspondence between himself and the Somerset Council regarding the progress with the application. Unfortunately, in their view, they've had what they feel to be a very frustrating experience in dealing with the planning department. They've written to the chief executive and leader of Somerset Council expressing those frustrations. They believe that Somerset's approach is unusual. Whilst we were one of the first in the Southwest to respond to their offer, other schemes have progressed significantly in the time since. Somerset Council said they were cognizant that the Town Council are supporting of the scheme, which the planning officer said they would discuss internally with senior officers, and they may wish to seek the views of the Town Council before providing further detailed comments. No further approach was made to us, but it did say that they may wish to. There has been approval for these hubs in Tiverton. They said that they were progressing with schemes in following towns: St Ives, Newquay, Truro, Tiverton, Newton Abbot, St Austell, Crediton and Clumpton. And they've said they've worked well with planning authorities in Cornwall, Teignbridge and Mid Devon. They feel the blanket position taken by the planning officers in Somerset is fundamentally wrong. And in other authorities, they were able to work collaboratively with the heritage officers. In their view, whilst they recognise Taunton is a lovely place, there is nothing based on the other locations that are receiving consents that would mark it as different in terms of the sensitivities of being a market town. And they would always be receptive to recycling hubs based on sort of feedback. They do not wish to take a bullish approach and just submit an application that could be refused by officers, given the reputational effects that may have on their business model. Although I have heard that they did apply in Brighton, were refused, they appealed and they lost the appeal recently. I've seen. They have over 70 consents in place across the country, but they will not be pursuing this further in Taunton due to the approach of the planning department, which was given as firmly of the view that the proposals would be harmful to the visual amenity of the Newport area. So read through your attention as a planning committee and what you wish to do is sort of the next steps. Really, I mean, we could write a letter to Somerset Council and set out, discuss our concerns, or we could leave it and see whether there's been a chance there on making a formal planning application. But as it stands, they're not wishing to do that without some further reassurance through the pre-app process, which Somerset Council said you've exhausted the pre-app process now. Your only next step is to, submit a full application and go through the proper processes. So just to bring it to your attention as committee, really. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Councillor Hughes and Councillor Ellis.
Yep, I know we were I think I remember the meeting. This is supportive of this. I'm not sure what more. If I'm honest, I'm not sure writing a letter will change anything in this. Their council planning department is so busy and etc. And whatever we say, I think whatever we say at this stage, depressing as that may sound, I think if these are set for rejection, then I don't know. I think the answer is they have to submit, to be honest. I don't see what else we can do at this stage. We haven't got any power to change that approach. Like you said, Marcus, they've gone through the pre-application. I mean, I'm happy to support if other members want to write. I'm happy to support it, but it seems a shame. I think always with Taunton, my personal opinion is Taunton's stuck in. It wants to move towards being like a city, and another part of it wants to remain and go back to the way it was as a nice provincial market town. And I think often Taunton gets stuck in the middle and it doesn't really know what it wants to be.
Councillor Ellis and Councillor Tully.
Yeah, I would definitely advise them to submit anyway, because we've got a funny planning department at Somerset Council, and I have to say, because I'm on Planning West, it's not unknown. In fact, it quite often happens that there's a well, obviously we don't, if it's subject to just the development control manager, whatever, whatever. So somebody would have to then make sure it got to committee. Because I think if you could get it to committee, I think that's the right. I think something like this does not want to be decided behind closed doors. I think it's a really interesting proposal. I think I would like it to be submitted so that everybody can think about, oh, is this a good thing for the future of the town? What impact would it have? Do we support it? What are the issues? I want that out in the public domain, because I thought it had a lot of things going for it, and I'm a bit, choosing my words carefully, aggravated that they've just been, sort of batted back. I think that's really wrong. So my strong advice to them would be to resubmit, because the planning officers are not the same as the planning committee. And if it went to planning committee, it would get a very fair and thorough hearing. Also, I think the fact of having a application, it would attract a lot of comment, I think, and it would generate a debate and a discussion, and I just think it's the right thing to do. I don't know whether did you say, Marcus, that so it's not that they've been they've asked for pre-app advice and been put on hold. It's that they've asked for pre-app advice and just been batted back to saying, well, no, we don't think this is a objective. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think they've gone through they've asked for some further feedback. I think when they originally they submitted a heritage statement with the pre-application, and I don't think they were quite happy with the level of detail of the response. And then I think Somerset Council said, no, we have considered a heritage statement, But it still remains our view that on balance, we wouldn't think this would be, I can't remember the exact quote, I just ran out, but yeah, harmful to the visual amenity. So, and then they just sort of said, you've exhausted this.
Waiting for the map.
Yeah, they need to submit. They should, I think, can we even write to them to say we advise you to submit a planning application, and everybody, it's out in the open and we can hear what the people of Taunton want, not some, people stuck in an office in County Hall want. Because these are two different things.
Yeah, Councillor
I agree with my colleague 100%. The one thing that worries me about these have defibrillators in, don't they? What is wrong with having something which will save someone's life in the town centre? We've got one at the Minster, but unless you do it when the Minster's open, and you can't get to it because it's indoors. We've got a problem with that. This is a non-stop, as far as I'm concerned, it's not, what is it, money it's causing this? Because there's nothing wrong with it. It's no different to any other advertising area, but it's got all the extra additions to it.
Yeah,
I agree with what Caroline says 100%.
So two things. Marcus can have got a video on you, but also if you wanted to rewatch it or whatever, on the website if you wanted to at this meeting. If not, but one of the main things that I've seen as a massive benefit is it has CCTVs built in, which for access to police. And I remember one of the stories that happened in wherever it was first started, that there was somebody was hurt in the main high street, and actually the CCTV picked up on the police found on the CCTV on the Pulse building, on the device, the actual crime happening, and this person say went to prison or whatever. So it's about improving the town security. It improves health in the town by giving defibrillators, so there's a chance for people to actually rescue somebody's as well. And then also at the same time, the information that you can get literally at your hands in different parts of Taunton, it's a no-brainer. It's across the grid, ages welcome. It's from kids to elderly people. It seems quite an easy device to use. And also, a phone that was built in for free calls if you needed to call an emergency system. So they had a lot of pros with it. I'm just really, really confused by this whole scenario how we've got to this, because I can understand they have queries with possibly how it may how it looks or whatever, but yeah, I definitely think, going by Councillor Ellis, that they need to submit this and it needs to be seen in front of a committee, because I think it would be seen completely different. That's my view. Councillor Twos again, and then Councillor Dunn.
Just a quick question. Was there potential to generate revenue from these? Do I remember? So would have thought the county council would be quite interested if they can generate some revenue from something, but or is the manufacturer, do they get the revenue from the advertisers or manufacturers?
I think it's we get a free service, they get the
I
advertising.
think there was potential for us to have a network of advertising space, remote events, like 5%, I think was the offer.
Councillor Dunn.
Maybe we should tell the county that stagecoaches stopped running 200 years ago. Can we not bring this to full council and let them bring it fully into the public domain? Because I think it's serious. This is a life-saving items they're doing. As far as when we had the presentation, they make it quite clear what the advantages are. I just don't understand it.
It's true. Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, maybe if we could say we discussed it and we're still fully support, we're very much in favour, and we would urge them to resubmit, because we think they will get a lot of, they'll get support from the town council and a lot of public support. And a planning committee is going to be looking at it's the harm versus the good. So even if you could make an argument that there was, which I don't think you can, I think planning officers have a weird mindset on this. Just I can't even express it. they, you know, like, oh, it'll have a detrimental impact on the visual, whatever. I mean, even if that was the case, it's about, does the good outweigh the harm? So you might accept a low level of harm because the benefits, you know, potential of life-saving, crime fighting, people having access to information, people being able to call in an emergency, you know, being able to signpost people around Taunton, all of those things would outweigh the harm. So I think there's sort of twin thing about reiterating the support that's already been expressed and saying that, you know, you think they'd have, I think they'd have a good chance. Actually, I really do.
I actually, I might be wrong on this, but I actually think County have looked at just the design. I don't think they've actually looked at what it actually brings and what it does at all. It just doesn't seem, because like you say, I think that outweighs massively. But Councillor Tully, did you want to say something else? I couldn't remember. Okay, Councillor Ellis.
You could tell them they should speak to Gid as well, because it's something that he might get behind, and you could he could push for it as well.
Is there anybody else want to comment? No? Okay, so kind of getting Phil to for us to support a letter or an email from us at the planning committee to actually show support of this application. Still, we advise them, to push on with a submission strongly, because we believe it would have a big impact still. Is that? Could I get a proposal on that? Councillor Tully, could I get a seconder? Councillor Toots, could we go to the vote? That's carried. Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll brief up. Get it all together. Thank you very much. The next item is Ramshorn Close Parking Scheme petition. Members consider the petition from residents to support the submission of a residents parking scheme to be considered in Ramshorn Close, Gamington and Taunton.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Ellis as well has had some involvement in this, so she may wish to come in. I've had the petition sent through to myself, and they've 100% support, they've said, from the residents of the close, who would welcome the opportunity to discuss potential changes for safety reasons, such as the introduction of permit parking and double yellow lines in the turning bays. The petition basically sets out that they wish to review parking within their residential area of Ramshorn Close. Perhaps the option of residents parking. There are 9 households in Ramshorn Close, and 100% of the residents are supportive of it. The current parking situation poses an inconvenience with no parking available for residents or their visitors, but also a hazard, especially during busy periods of the day. People are driving in and out of the area all day looking for free parking, some driving with little consideration for the people who live here. Cars and vans loiter in the road, making it hard for the residents to access their homes, and some leave their cars parked there all day and night. There have been occasions where access to the houses at the end of the close have been restricted for deliveries. An emergency vehicle would also struggle to get through if it was required. Poor parking often obstructs the view of the main road at the junction, making the close onto Galmington Road very dangerous. The fact that permits are due to be introduced further up Galmington Road, in Musgrove Road, and also in Belmont Road, likely to have further impacts in Ramshorn Close, as those who are parking there currently would be looking for alternative spaces that are close to hospitals and schools. It has leave no option for residents to have to park in the turning bays and route the grassy verges, turning up the ground and at times blocking the pavements. This all makes the area much less safe for pedestrians, pets, children and grandchildren. And then the petition is signed by all the residents. Thank you, Chair.
Well, just listening from that, well, seems a no-brainer, really, doesn't it? Yeah, I think doing this is just going to improve everybody's livelihood and all residents and visitors and everything. So I haven't got an issue with this. What I do is Councillor Ellis, and we'll go Councillor Lester.
Yeah, Rachel, who generated the petition, contacted me a while ago, and I explained that the first thing is to get support among the people who live in the close of that. Otherwise, if you don't have that, if it's just one person, it doesn't go anywhere. So she gone and done that, and they're all on the same page. They all want some parking restrictions, so residents, some sort of combo, I guess, of residents parking and extra lines and whatnot. That's not up to us. That's, parking services would have to work all that out, what's feasible to do there. So yeah, and I do feel for them, because it is a bit like the Wild West in Ramsden Close in terms of cars and whatnot. It's not good. So I'm completely behind this, and I think we should definitely support it, because it's a lot of these schemes. It's one of the stumbling blocks is always that people, half of people are sort of asleep and don't even care if there's a problem, whatever, even if there is, and then they don't all, support it or something. But here, when you've got everybody essentially wanting this, should be quite straightforward, you would think. Yes, it would cost a bit of money at Somerset Council end, but it should be, I think, relatively straightforward. And the fact that we've now finally getting the Musgrove parking permits, that has taken an age. But that will displace people. So the situation for Ramsden Close is going to get worse. So yeah.
Councillor Lester.
I was just going to say, I often walk past there and naively thought they were all resident parking cars already. But it is always absolute chaos on that little road when you walk across the entrance. People parking too close to the entrance, and there's, I think I fully support this. It's like I say, so there's a relatively few residents, and they're clearly suffering at the hands of obviously ever diminishing places for people to park for free. Yeah.
Is there any more comments? No? Okay, so again, Phil to support this submission for Ramsden Close. Great. Could I get a proposer? Councillor Heathers, could I get a seconder? Councillor Lester, you ready to vote, please? It's carried. Thank you very much. Next thing is to comment on planning applications received from the local planning authority. The first item and only item is 38-25-0064-CMA, which is a Class MA notification application to determine if prior approval is required for the change of use and conversion from commercial business and service use Class E into 4 dwellings Class C3 at Bridgewater House, 3 to 5 Corporation Street, Taunton. Getting my head to Corporation Street.
It's only in the town centre.
It's opposite. It's just down. It's the same side as the P&P old library and.
Yeah, the old library.
Oh.
No, the old library.
Yeah.
It's opposite the taxi, literally opposite the taxi rank.
Opposite
Yeah,
So you've got Phase, whatever, then you've got the jewellers,
Yeah, that's
and then is it the building, the next building? up?
Vital haircutters,
Yeah,
hairdressers, and then the entrance is going to be between the two.
Yeah.
shops.
yeah.
Yeah, that will sort it out. Yeah, it's a bit further towards the town market. And then turn.
Bit more.
Yeah, there's Bridgewater House. Yeah.
Yes, that's the entrance.
Coat of arms above it as well, from all the different towns. Okay, if we go back onto the application, please. If we could have a look on the existing proposed rear elevation and existing proposed front elevation, great. Which one you? Do you have any comments on this application? Okay, Councillor Twos and then Councillor Isaac.
A quick question for everyone here is that I couldn't work out where the rear of this. There is a plan of it, but I can see it's like near Brendan Books, and there's a little alleyway that used to be a hairdresser's there, but I can't think where the rear of it is, because I think it goes from the back of the old library and then straight away is the bookshop. So I can't picture it. This bit, that's what I couldn't picture when I looked at this application, where that is. It's Bath Place, right?
Yeah. I know.
I mean, there's no gap, is there? There's no.
No, there's no gap.
Yeah, I.
There's a barber shop there, but
Yeah, there's a barber shop in the alleyway.
There again.
Harry Potter.
I've not watched Harry Potter.
Behave, yes.
Well, having a look at the plans from the proposed to existing, what they want to do actually with the building, it actually looks good. But one thing I just wanted to have a look at was the first and, well, if we go for all the floors, that'd be really helpful. Councillor Toots.
Yeah, I just, my main concern with this was similar to a resident or the owner of the, so it's around bin storage. So the bin storage is proposed on the first floor, indoors, in a room that's 4 meters squared. So I think that's 2 meters by 2 meters, right?
A cupboard.
And that's 4 residents, and that will be, I presume, the black bin, the recycling bins, or and will they be taking it down to the shop, or it says the collection will be arranged. I'm not sure if we're considering that today, Chair. Are we considering whether they need to get permission to change of use? Because if that's the question, then I say yes, they do.
Yeah, so so today we're determining if prior approval is required for the change of use and conversion from commercial into full dwelling.
Yeah, it's just there, Marcus. You're on the right floor. If you zoom in,
Councillor Isaacs.
it's a grey.
Karen.
Polly's got the.
Oh, sorry. Bit down a bit. Yeah, and then keep going. There's the bin store, but sorry, Chair.
You see, they've got 4, what appears to be 4 really or small black. Well, I don't know what they are, the 4 things, but there's no way you'd fit 4 of those in a 2 meter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The shop owner is worried that actually what will happen in that little alleyway, the little entrance to Bridgewater House that we just saw, that residents will in the end have to put stuff there before bin day.
Yeah, part of that. Councillor Isaacs.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I've had a good look at this one because prior to the meeting, I was looking for all the applications this evening. As this the other one with a look at every document on there, which is very good. I agree with Councillor Toes that that doesn't seem feasible to have on the first floor a bin store. That's a highly visible to anybody coming to the shoulders, right almost in the centre, isn't it? And I think the bins will get left around. The 2 owners of the businesses, the entrances there have objected quite strongly. That is their main thing. But another point there, if this isn't listed building, I think it should be in the future. Like you pointed out, all of the towns and across the banner is a very prominent building along Corporation Street. So the question is it listed now, or possibly could it be in the future if we're looking at a change of use from commercial to residential?
Marcus.
I can have a quick look at the listing for Bridgewater House on the Heritage website and check, but in relation to the comment made about you are correct, obviously, that this is a Class MA notification, not a full planning application. But I would still submit any comments that you think are relevant, because I think if this doesn't get, and the planning authority say that prior approval isn't needed, then you've sort of lost your opportunity there. Then I think to make those comments might not make them at this juncture as well.
Councillor Isaacs and Councillor Toots.
Yeah, just like the point there, I was one of those. I find it very difficult to carry a black bin down from the first floor to the ground floor on collection day. And then you mentioned, Chair, there was things for collection, but if it's left to the residents, I think that's going to be a really hard thing to do.
I find it hard enough carrying mine. my black bin for my house on the ground floor, let alone down the pair of stairs. They're very heavy when they're full, aren't they? Councillor Hughes?
I can't remember, Marcus, which one it is. It was either attached some summary or application form where the developer lists how they're going to deal with the rubbish, and it says collection will be arranged. So just to point out myself, I'm not against the application itself. It's more residents in town. I'm supportive of that. With all of these things, they look really good when they first go in, and then if you don't get the rubbish and refuse right and recycling, they soon become more trouble than positive, if you know what I mean. I think the developer or the applicant needs to look at the bin storage, explain how bottles, paper, general rubbish is going to fit in that room, if that's the plan.
So, Councillor Lester?
Just to summarise then, basically what we think it will need planning, or is that what we're going to advise it, if that's the question that's asked, and maybe they want to rethink their bin storage options before they submit.
Councillor Ellis?
Yeah, there was a couple of other things raised in the objections. I think the jewellers were saying about removal of a crucial skylight leading to ventilation and regulatory concerns. So maybe we can just take a look at that as well.
So that was on the, if I'm right in saying, the existing proposed rear elevation. So a few of the things on the list, I personally think, kind of hearing back from everybody's like opinions, the actual, so it's not listed then.
Very close to the conservation area, but not actually within it.
So kind of getting a feel that actually the application to for change of use from commercial into residential, we don't have an issue with. But the comments, I personally think, I definitely think we need to raise comments on this to make sure the details are right going forward for actually the plans to be submitted. I would say impact on public visual amenity, because even from the front of the property, as we know, bins will probably be left out the front, which currently that's not actually happening. I'd say the layout and density of the building, because obviously the first floor bin is not really a good idea. And also you could say effect on listed building or conservation area. We'd like to possibly raise it, it should be raised or very close indoor conservation area, especially those crests above the door. I think that really, in my opinion, that needs to be looked after. It does, really does. So, Councillor Lester?
Obviously, the bin store is for all 4 flats, but we didn't actually. Can we just take a look at the image of the second floor, please?
Have a quick look. I didn't think there's a second one.
No, there's a no, because that's an internal store. That's a wardrobe, isn't it? That's not a store.
So it's literally those people will have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 flights of stairs.
Yeah, eventually 2 flights. Yeah, one flight to drop it off and the other flight to put it out, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you. One thing I will say, at least they're reasonable sized places, which like my standard gripe about the places being too small.
Any more comments? Councillor Tully?
I agree with that about the bins. One thing that does concern me, people have taken the bins down, one want to take them back up, and they'll be left on the outside of that pavement.
Yeah.
And that's what will happen. They'll be on the permanent there.
Yeah. So, from what I've heard, and I'm, kind of getting the opinion to support the license change into the dwelling, but I definitely think there are items that we need to raise as comments. Is that correct? So I would say number 2, design and appearance, impact on public visual amenity, and also the layout definitely be because of the first floor bins, so possibly putting them on the ground floor. B, you know, if that means they have to put stairs and all that to create a different room, then so be it, if that's what has to go in. And also, I'd like to also raise about the, you know, the crest above the door. I personally think that's an effect that could be on that, you know, those crests should be listed. So I think that's probably quite a strong, you know, thing to raise on that. Is there anything else you'd like to raise as a committee? Yeah. Okay.
What about this skylight issue? I couldn't
I couldn't see it.
work out where
No,
it is.
So if you go on to the proposed and existing rear elevation, so third one at the bottom. Okay, so if you look at the top picture, it's just about here. And then obviously it's getting removed. If you're on the proposed photo. Like a bit of a weatherman here. It's getting removed, so I don't really know why that's getting removed, but there must be some.
What he says, what the jeweler guy says is the proposal removes a skylight that currently provides natural ventilation to number 3 Corporation Street, soon to be used as a workshop. Without this, the space will suffer from poor air circulation, excessive heat buildup, and potential compliance issues under building regs part F, which requires adequate means of ventilation for occupied spaces. So that that makes me feel a bit uneasy. Problem is, if we say, oh yeah, no, there shouldn't be any issue with change of use, but will that will mean they will just be able to do what they like, or they have to, they get change of use and they have to put in planning application so that people can comment on the detail.
Yeah.
I can't remember how that works off the top of my head. So if they got agreed to say, yes, you can get change of use, do they still have to then put in?
Think the words.
Yeah. So there's another chance to have a sort of bite at the cherry, I see.
Yeah, and right now, obviously putting these list of material consideration is just our chance to have a first say, and then when the planning application, if it's still not in, then you have another say. But it kind of gets us a good foundation of a good delivery. Yeah, I personally think number 2, let's go back to this: design, appearance, impact, and public visual amenity, layout and density of the building. So, you know, bringing bins down to the ground floor. However that's done, I think it needs to be done. And effect on listed building, I think we need to raise that personally the crests need to be, you know, looked at going forward. I don't personally think there's anything else needs to be raised at this point, but I definitely think supporting of the change of use into a dwelling is definitely what we're sounding out. Could I get a proposal on this, please? Councillor 2, could I get a second, please? Councillor Lester, could we go to the vote, please? It's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. The next item is to comment on licence matters received from the local licensing authority. Members consider applications for licences submitted for consultation. So the first and only item is MA-58795. Application for a pavement licence, Cafe Culture, 49 High Street, Taunton. Councillor Lester.
Usual question, is this a resubmission of a license or a new one?
It's a renewal.
All right, okay.
Councillor Isaac.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just on Google Maps, there's 4 tables sharing outside, and they're asking, I think, for 12.
Describe the type of furniture to be used. So up to 9 tables, up to 21 chairs, 2 parasols and 3 barriers.
It looks like it's doubling the size of what the second was looking at, yeah. So it would be coming, that's 4 metres, it's right by the alleyway coming through from the sort of Crescent car park, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to actually know, because obviously this is renewal, so I guess the detailing would be the same. And that image is 7 years old, so it could be in place right now with already
Yeah.
that in place.
No comment.
Is there any more comments? Councillor Tully?
Just one, we want to get that street traders idea in. And along there is more, it's just not this one cafe, but there's other ones which also do it, including the large one. I forgot their name, that's a good.
Royals Tea Rooms.
Blue Moon, is it?
Cafe Express.
Yeah,
Blue Moon.
there's enough, and I think it's not going to hurt Taunton. It really isn't. I would support it, to be honest.
I agree. Yeah, so I'm going to get a feel to support this application. Could I get a proposal, please? Councillor Tully, could you want to do it now? What am I second, please? Councillor Isaac, can we get to the vote, please? It's carried. Thank you very much. It's the end of the meeting.